Now there's been a controller that I've had my eye on for a very long time. I didn't pull the trigger initially. I wasn't sure. I have so many other controllers. I was like, no, Aman, you do not need this. I finally did because it is discounted here in Canada at least. And I'm sure discounted in many other countries as well. And that is the PDP Pro Victrix BFG. PDP Victrix Pro BFG. Now you might look at this controller and say, man, why was this a controller that you were looking out for? What's the big deal about this? Now, the cool thing for me is that the controller layout itself can be changed in a way to make it into a fight pad. I know that sounds cool. We're gonna try it out too, and I'm gonna show you how it's done. But that's one of the reasons I wanted to check this out and also make this video, is to see whether or not this controller, first of all, ticks all the boxes of being able to play FPS games, racing games, single player, immersive stuff, so you can be competitive in that way. But more than that, is this a controller that can basically replace any other peripherals that you might have? Now, of course, it cannot replace your mouse and keyboard. What I'm referring to is your fight stick, because as you can see, you don't see a fight stick behind me. I always have it in my closet because I just don't have the space to have a fight stick around here all the time. So whenever I want to play a fighting game, especially online, I always need to go bring my fight stick back. Again, first world problems, not a huge deal. But if this is something that can just be in a spot where I can just switch it into a fighting stick of sort, amazing. So enough talk. I know it's exciting. I've already opened this up, so we'll jump right into checking out the controller, getting our first impressions, and then getting into some testing. Let's do this. Alright, so here we have the PDP Victrix Pro BFG. We have the white edition. So it comes in a case which I like. It has a nice kind of clothy case. I don't know, a fabric case. I don't know what you call this. But let's open it up. Like I mentioned earlier, I have opened this up just to kind of make sure everything was okay. So it's not too big of a reveal for me. But either way, here is the controller. First thing you might notice is this D-pad, which we will test because that's one of the reasons I actually wanted to pick this controller up. And first thing that I noticed when I picked this up in my hand, put it there, put it in my gaming grip, is that it feels a little plasticky. Now, all controllers, or most controllers are made of plastic. It's just the feel, like it doesn't necessarily feel super premium in my hand. And look, that's my personal feel of this, but analog sticks and everything feel like how an analog stick should. This cool, awesome looking D-pad also feels pretty interesting. The buttons, not a big fan of. You can already kind of, I want to bring this close to the mic. You're probably not going to be able to hear that too much, but it's very, very mushy, worse than the DualSense Edge. Like there's just no feedback when you press the buttons. And for some people, that's perfect, right? You maybe want that low noise pressing buttons on your controller. I'm used to more of the tactile feel, kind of like something that gives you a bit of feedback. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter as long as these clicks register appropriately. I think that's what matters the most. Flipping it around, we do see that they have 4 back paddles. So this is something that's quite unique. A lot of times with back paddles, we see just 2. In this case, there are 4. I will say that when I'm holding it like this and I want to press them, it's a little bit weird. Like the locations are placed in a way where you're going to be using your middle finger and your ring finger to click on it. And the gap is so tiny that it doesn't feel intuitive when I'm pressing on it. It's like it's not as easy as I would hope it would be. Like the DualSense Edge, it's pretty intuitive. When you click on it, you know, it feels like a part of the controller. This one, it feels like I'm kind of going out of my way to press on it. Again, my personal opinion. Triggers are very bouncy. If you notice this, like, again, like I'm sure for most people that's fine. It's just it feels a little bit weird. And when I hold on to it, like if you notice, like here, like if you notice this one, when I'm just gonna put my regular weight, this one depresses a little bit. So I'm a bit worried about if I don't know if that happens here too, actually. So I don't know if that's this specific unit, or maybe that's just how these controllers are designed. Back here, these buttons or sliders are, so if I push it all the way to the side, you hear that click. These triggers have now turned into clicks. Let me actually do that test again. Yeah, see, still kind of, it's almost like I need to kind of put my fingers here. All right, it's fine. We'll test that out. But the cool thing is that you can hold this trigger. So let's focus on this trigger. You can hold this to the side, the slider, and push it down to the level you want it to be. So let's say there, and then let go. Now it's only gonna go to that level. The only thing for me is that I wish there was more of like a click indicator. So this way I can kind of match these two. I'm kind of going with, you know, my own instincts, and maybe there is some sort of like levels to it internally that I'm not noticing, and maybe, you know, it is kind of going to the point that I want it to. But just something that I noticed, it's pretty cool to kind of have something like that. Now obviously that was the controller. In the box itself, of course, we have the USB dongle that I dropped. So USB dongle. And now the super cool thing, the reason I wanted to get this controller to begin with is this fight pad, and we will be testing it out. This kind of goes here, and you might be wondering, hey, how do you place this in, you know? Well, they gave us a screwdriver to essentially, you can kind of see, place this in, screw it, and you're done. And it's set up to be able to play as a fight pad. Other cool things that we have, of course, is the D-pad. So this is kind of the D-pad that it comes with, but you can switch it to this kind of, you know, Xbox 360-ish version, which is pretty cool. I really like these ones. And of course, you know, my personal favorite, which is just kind of having like these individual buttons, as long as they are tactile. And I'll kind of do my own test of that, but in gaming, I do want to test this out because it is such a unique D-pad. I want to see how this stacks up to other D-pads, just because, especially in fighting games, but in general, I feel like this could be a cool D-pad to test out. Like we've seen with some of the other Pro controllers, we have analog stick replacements. We have one which is kind of long, and we have one which is kind of short. So you can kind of change it based on your preference, based on the games that you're playing. We also have these rings that you can kind of place internally. So right now it's circular. So when you kind of go around, right, it's circular like this. When you place this one in there, what you'll notice with this ring is that it's got like these diagonal, these kind of like edges built into it. I don't know what type of shape this is, pentagon, hexagon, I don't know, whatever it is. But basically it will kind of give you that feedback when you're hitting those diagonal, those dents on the side. So it's a cool thing to have, especially if you need that for a specific game. I can see that being pretty useful in fighting games as well. You can tell this is this is designed with fighting games in mind, but also with just regular gaming in mind, which is awesome. And of course, this also comes with a pretty lengthy USB-C cable that we see here. But I've enough talk, you know, let's actually jump in and start testing this out. All right, so we're here with Battlefield 6. I wanted to test this controller out on an FPS game that I play quite regularly with the mouse and keyboard, just to kind of see how this feels. And I kind of want to do this live. So with this controller, you also get different level or different size analog sticks, kind of like this one. This one's a little bit longer. And the idea is that if you put this on the right stick or the right analog stick area, you should get a little bit more precision. It's kind of like those Control Freak extenders that you see that people use, especially a lot of pros use, to kind of elevate the analog sticks a little bit, to just kind of give you a little bit more control of your aim. So all you gotta do is pull this out, so like so, and slot the other analog stick in. The cool thing is, obviously, it doesn't feel like, you know, it's gonna go flying off, anything like that. It is secure, hopefully. So with that set up, why don't we jump into a multiplayer game? We're gonna do some strike point. Already with the controller, I am noticing the vibrations, which is cool. It's quite strong. It doesn't feel like it's like HD rumble or haptic feedback, anything like that, but it feels better than regular vibration, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna do assault. I just wanna see how this feels. Hopefully I don't let my team down. Alright, just kind of playing around with it. And it is quite sensitive. This is of course the game settings, however it's set, but having that elevated analog stick does help. Wow. Okay, that's kind of cool. And that's just not something that's limited to just this controller, because you can always buy those Control Freak extenders for any control that you have, but it is cool to have. So the trigger is a little interesting. There are times that I'm noticing, and I don't know if you notice this as well, is if I just rest my left finger on the left trigger, I just press it a little bit by mistake. Like it's not even, it's a very slight press. I don't know if it's this controller where maybe the trigger is like a little bit loose. But I do have to be like very mindful of like not really resting on it properly. That's kind of the only thing I'm kind of noticing right now. Otherwise, like the analogs are really great. Like they feel good. The triggers are good. I'm gonna switch to the button mode. Oh, I see a guy there. Oof, the button mode feels a little off. It's like... Like it's not like... Oof, okay. It's just not like a proper click. I don't know if you can probably hear it. Like it's not like a click. I don't know how to explain it. It just feels uncomfortable when it's those clicks. Like it just feels like I'm pressing on something and nothing's happening, but it's registering a button press. If that makes sense. Like rather than it feeling like a click, it feels like the button's stuck. I think that's the best way to describe it. It just feels like it's stuck right now. Yeah, like I don't like that. I don't like this at all. Alright, so I switched it back to kind of the original mode. Yeah, it feels much better like this when it's like a full button. Like overall, the analog sticks and everything feel great. I'm still not fully... I'm not too sure how I feel about the actual face buttons themselves. They feel like a little mushy. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like it's not really kind of registering the way I would want it to. You know, like when you compare it to the 8-bit DOE, you get like that feedback, but with this, yeah, it's just not the same. All right, we've tried an FPS game out. Why don't we switch over to a fighting game, which is kind of one of the main reasons I wanted to check out this controller. All right, so whilst we're getting ready for the game, for Street Fighter 6 to start up, why don't we actually switch this module for the fight pad module. So in the controller box itself, or with the controller, you get this specific screwdriver. You see a couple of screw points here, like this one here, and where do I get there? This one here as well. So you gotta unscrew that and put in the module. I'm gonna turn the controller off, just in case. So there you go. It's like right here. I've taken it out, and you just kind of slot it in like so. Screw this back in. And there you go. We're ready. Ooh. Ooh. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Do you hear that? I did not realize these would be so clicky. I wonder what kind of switches they're using for this. This is really cool. Wow. Okay. Okay. And whilst we're on that, I'm also going to remove this D-pad and switch it over to something that I like a little bit more, which is kind of the standard square. You just take it out, put it back in, boom, done. Alright, this D-pad isn't that bad. Hoping for it to be a little bit more clicky, but that's okay. That's okay. Because this is click. Wow. Okay, sorry. we'll do basically what we've been doing in the past, is going into practice mode, using Terry, trying out some of his moves, and just see how we feel. Okay, wow. Yes, I don't just the button presses, everything is so responsive. Like, it's hard to tell obviously from, you know, because I'm just describing it and you're just kind of seeing it in that way, like, but it feels really good. Wow. Okay, that's cool. Like, everything, I don't know, it's everything about this feels really good. Every time I just click on something. Okay. Yeah, I'm really liking this. Wow. Okay. Yeah, this is this is really good so far. Okay. Just messing with the D-pad. Like I was saying, the D-pad isn't clicky or anything like that, but it still feels really good. Ooh, yes, the buttons. So I should kind of mention this. So we have the A button, B, right trigger, right bumper, Y, and X. So some of the things that you have on the left bumper, left trigger, you still have to kind of, you know, have your fingers ready on those. Like in this case, we have the special button, which is left bumper. Obviously, you can kind of switch stuff around. And also the parry / block, whatever this is, like the, I don't really use this too much. But again, you can do all of these things by pressing X and Y together, for example. So the left trigger is the same as X and Y. Ooh. The left trigger is the same as X and Y. Oh, okay. X and Y together. There you go. X and Y together. Okay. So sorry, took a while, but there you go. And then the left bumper, of course, is the same as RB and RT together. So it's kind of like you don't need to use it, but it's up to you, kind of like how you prefer. So why don't we try some of? Oh wow! Yes, immediately! Oh my god! And the combos as well with the whatever the trigger is, the V trigger. I don't think it's called the V trigger anymore, but whatever this is. Oh my god, I love it. Overdrive, there you go. It says at the bottom left, overdrive. Yes. Oh, oh my god, I really like this. Oh wow. Oh, this is so sick. This is actually awesome. This feels so good. Even my dog got excited, with me getting so excited by this. This is really cool. This is so cool. And as you can tell, I'm a very casual player, so I can't speak to, you know, pros, anything like that. A lot of pro tournaments, you do see people using controllers, not this specific one, just, you know, controllers like a PS4 DualSense or PS5 DualSense, something like that. But as a casual player, if you're someone that doesn't want to really invest, or you're not sure about investing in a big fight stick because of the space it takes, and also because maybe you're not too sure if you actually like fighting games that much, like this is actually so good. This is so cool. This gives you kind of that feeling. Obviously, you can use the left analog stick as, you know, the fight stick in a way. But of course, I prefer using the D-pad because you get a little bit more control with this one. And then of course, the buttons are so responsive. Just a click. For me, the click is what gets me. Like, just a feel. Like, it just feels so good just doing this. This is awesome. Wow. I'm just pressing a bunch of random buttons. But I'm just loving this. This is so good. Oh my god, this is so good. And I'm not even using it. Like, typically a lot of people, when they do fighting games, especially on the controller, you see them go kind of like this, and I used to do that too, just to kind of get like more precise kind of inputs. Because of the way this is laid out, I'm able to kind of press, you know, X and A together, X and B together, maybe sort of, Y and B together. Like, I just feel like if I want to go from Y to B, it's a lot easier than me having to kind of do like this, for example. And the buttons are so responsive that I feel like you're able to do that, you know? I'm trying to see what the input is on the top left, or on the left itself, but you can kind of see, right? You see the punch and the kick. Like, this is really good. Like, this is really good. Wow. Okay, I can stay here all day, but we need to move on. Why don't we test out the analog sticks a little bit more to kind of see what it can actually do in a racing game. Alright, so let me bring it all the way down. Let me slow it down. Okay. All right, so we're starting at 0. I'm gonna start bumping up on the right trigger, on the accelerate really slowly. All right, so halfway, okay. That's pretty good. Brake, brake, brake a little bit, okay. Okay. Accelerate here, all the way, full push. Already went off track, but that's okay. All right, hard brake here. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Oh, I went up way too high. Okay, wow. Maybe that's something we gotta change in the setting, because let me just try to show it to you here. And I want to make sure to highlight the accelerate that you see at the bottom. But with this trigger here, the right one here, the one that I have a finger on, I'm gonna press it down, and when I get till here, it's full. I know I'm going off the circuit right now. So when I get here, it's full. But I can keep pressing down. Like you see that, like this, that was still not pressed, but I was already at the highest level way too quickly. So let me do the same thing for the brake. Brake would be a lot easier to show. All right, this is full. This is full, and there's still this amount that's left. So that's something that I'll probably need to change in the setting. We'll definitely check that out. But out of the gate, that's obviously a little bit excessive, because I'm basically having to control everything I want in like half of the space, if that makes sense. At least right now, right? And some people might prefer that, you know, maybe you're really good with it and you have a very, very light touch, I don't know, and you're able to kind of maneuver this a lot better than I can. But I kind of need the full range of motion to be able to kind of get a better understanding of what I need to do and where. Because right now that's like, yeah, it just bumps up too quickly. It's kind of like having like the acceleration pedal, right? Like when I get till the end, that's kind of when I know that, okay, I'm at full acceleration. If I'm getting full acceleration halfway, that rest of the amount, like it just doesn't make sense. And with brakes in general, when it comes to actual brakes in race cars and even in sim racing, you usually have like a load cell, something that really pushes back in a way. So you really do put a lot of pressure to get till 100%. It's really hard to emulate that on a controller, which is why, of course, a lot of people that are very, very interested in sim racing, stuff like that, they do prefer the whole sim racing rig. And of course with this, and it being so flimsy, like something that I already mentioned, like it just feels so flimsy. Like this would not be the controller I would recommend for racing. And I know, like, obviously, you know, like, we're gonna jump into software at some point and go over this, go over like the changes you can make, stuff like that. That's fine. I'm just not liking this flimsy nature of it, right? Because it just doesn't feel impactful. Yeah, it's a little bit of a letdown. This controller has so much going for it, and I feel like triggers are typically something that's not, obviously, of course, it's hard to do. It's not ever easy, anything like that. But if they just kept it to the basics, it would have been fine. Like the analog sticks and everything are good; those are fine, as you can imagine. It's nothing special. Yeah, I'm just disappointed, I guess. Yeah. Alright, okay. Why don't we jump into a single player game to just check out how immersive this can be. Alright, so we're here with some Metal Gear Solid 5 Delta, the remake. I was struggling with this boss quite a bit, but I just wanted to kind of check this controller out in just a regular single player game. Just gonna see how this feels. Alright, I got my smoke grenades ready. Smoke grenade. Shoot him. Okay. The vibrations feel pretty good. It's a little bit excessive at times. At least that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. I don't have any bullets. No. So I am liking this for like single player stuff like that. It's, you know, immersion wise, it's good. The vibration, like I said, the vibration even now it's a little too much. It's a little too crazy in my opinion. But some people prefer that, you know, some people like it when the vibration is a little too crazy. Nice. Finally got him. Finally did it. And on this controller. And the cool thing is that I also like the little textures that are on the side. You don't think about these things when you see the controller in front of you. But just kind of having it here, like the texture, it kind of keeps that grip on. I noticed this when I was, you know, playing a fighting game. Even with Battlefield 6, stuff like that. Like, it keeps everything in place. With the DualSense, that's kind of one of the things I always noticed is sometimes like my palm will just kind of be a little bit more slippery than it should. You know, nothing too crazy, but it's a cool kind of thing to have in this. So now that we did a quick test in a single player game, it feels good, immersive. Let's check out the software. All right, so here we have the Victrix Pro BFG controller, the Victrix Control Hub. You can download this from the Windows Store, and just from the get-go we do see there's a couple of options. So why don't we kind of jump into configure. Okay, so here we can remap the button. So if you want to change the A button to D-pad up, I don't know why you want to do that, but if you want to do that, you can do that here. So that is cool. Back paddles, okay, so this is something that will be quite useful. So you can click on this and okay, there you go. So you just click on the specific back paddle and just press the button you want to change it to, and it will change to that. So that's pretty cool. Yep, there you go. Okay, perfect. So that's what back paddles do. We know what they do. The back paddles are a little bit tight, as you kind of hear. They, which I mean could be good depending on your use case and stuff like that. Like I kind of like the DualSense one, which is a little bit more easier to press, but to each their own. All right, analog sticks. Okay, so we can test the sticks and let's see how I can. Okay, so you can kind of increase or decrease a dead zone like this. It's kind of weird that. Well, okay, it's mirror dead zone. Okay, that's why. Let me turn that off. Okay, nice. So you can choose the dead zone for each of the controller, like whatever you want it to be. Or you can just kind of mirror them. You can swap sticks as well. Again, I don't know why you want to do that. You can invert the sticks as well. Cool. Lots of options there. That is cool. Okay, so now we're on the triggers. So we're basically changing the dead zone. So it's not like kind of what we saw with the 8-bit Do, where you can kind of press on the trigger and see the overall actuation, kind of see where it gets to 100%, stuff like that, and change it accordingly. You have to kind of like change the dead zone but then I can't really test it either. Like on the app itself, I can't test it. I need to kind of go into a game to test it. That's really weird. That's not really user friendly, in my opinion. And I don't even know what it will do. Like, I don't even know if the dead zone will kind of fix what I didn't like in F1. Okay, that's weird. That's kind of weird. Alright, so these are audio settings, of course. You know, you can connect a jack at the bottom of the controller, change the volume. I don't know what these audio modes do. It doesn't even tell you what the audio modes are. Of course, you have the game tab balance, mic mute, mic monitoring. Okay, yeah, regular stuff. Not a lot of information on this one. Okay, and then we have the vibration. So we have the rumble, which... So that's the left and right rumble, I guess. Okay. And what impulse? Alright, the impulse feels the same. What's the difference? It feels exactly the same. I don't get it. Other than that, we have diagnostics. If there's any specific issues with any parts, triggers, audio, vibration, stuff like that, you can kind of use the diagnostics tool there. Support, this is just to kind of, you know, give you their support information, things like that. And of course, update. If you want to update your software, they have that. And that's it. That's all there is to it with this software. So really weird. I don't know what to say, because we started off really good, especially with the fighting games, but I'm just trying to figure this out. I'm just trying to figure this out in my head. For a control that's boasting so much creativity and so much customizability, I expected a little bit more customizability to a degree. Alright, why don't we go back and discuss everything that we witnessed in this testing. So from what we saw with the gameplay testing, there's some really cool things with this controller. I mean, the fact that I can switch out the D-pad to make it more suitable to the types of games I like. And of course, being able to switch out this entire module here and make it into a fight stick, like that is really awesome. As you saw from my expression when we actually started to use the fight stick and just me pressing the buttons on it, it sounded amazing, it felt amazing. But then when you look at the triggers are just off. Like, they just don't feel good. And I'm not too sure if it's my specific unit or not, right? That could be the situation. There's just no traction on it. And when we were playing Battlefield 6, there were so many moments where my hand, just because my finger is resting on the trigger, it would just slightly press on it and it would cause the trigger to actuate or to start working. And as we saw in the software, we are able to expand or minimize the dead zone. From my own testing so far, I'm not able to kind of get it to a point where if I press on it a little bit, it doesn't actuate, right? At the same time, I'm also not a big fan of kind of having it that way, because I want every little press on the trigger, the signal to be sent, but only to that point where I am pressing. So I want the full 0 to 100% range of motion of these triggers, especially when I'm playing an FPS game or of course a racing game. So making the dead zone to the point where if I press on it a little bit and it doesn't actuate, I don't really like that. Now for my PC behind me, I was using the included dongle, and this is a 2.4 gigahertz dongle. I didn't see any interference. Everything in terms of input latency, all that stuff, it was great. Everything was pressing as I expected it to, and it was registering as I expected to as well. I also tested this out in my living room with my PC that's in my living room. Same thing there. I sit around 7 to 10 feet away from my TV where my PC is as well. And I didn't notice any issues, no latency issues, anything like that. So as you can see, I have the Xbox version of the controller. So you can also use this on your Xbox console. I don't have an Xbox anymore, so I couldn't really do that test. God, here we go again. We regret to interrupt your program, but we are receiving breaking news that we have finally found this person who has been pretending to be this YouTube tech reviewer of sorts. Aman, here he is. Whoa. Hey, did you get a chance to take a shower in the last week? Come on, just fix your hair a little bit. Like, what? I know you're having some hair issues and everything, but you gotta take care of that. Hey, we finally caught you. We all know you've been pretending to be the tech reviewer, pretending to know your stuff. What do you have to say for yourself? Well, I've been gaming. It doesn't matter what you have to say for yourself because we all caught you now and I'm going to be running the show from now on. Yeah, it's going to be me on the other side. It's going to be my glory. It's going to be my time to shine. Well, okay, then you should do the editing, paying for the products and finding out what to review next, write the script, pay for the editing software, all this equipment. Okay, you know what? You do that. That sounds like a lot of work. I'll do this part. This is pretty fun. Yeah, that's what I thought. So look, you're talking about the Victrix Pro BFG, that's fine, but we just recently got the launch of the Victrix Pro BFG Reloaded. Why review this one and not the BFG Reloaded? Well, one of the reasons that I wanted to kind of discuss the Pro BFG and not the Reloaded was because the Pro BFG is normally $200. You typically do see it around that $170, $160 range. And in my case as well, I was able to find a pretty good used edition for $100. Yes, this is used, and as you can see, it's in great condition. Of course, this is not the case for all of them, but there are a lot of options out there where you can kind of get it for a good price. So that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to check out the BFG version and not the Reloaded. Now, in terms of Reloaded, I do have one right here. This is the BFG Reloaded PlayStation Edition. And when it comes to the key differences between the two, there isn't a huge difference price-wise if you are looking at it in terms of retail price. But since the Pro BFG is around 170 most of the time, the Pro BFG Reloaded is around 210. The key things they added was of course the TMR sticks for the analog, so you can kind of avoid having those drift issues in the long run. They also changed the switches for the fight pad to something that is a little bit more desirable by the fighting game community. I don't know if that's true or not. I'll test it out to see if it is a big difference or not. And the triggers themselves are also Hall effect, so that also makes them a bit more durable, maybe a little bit more accurate, or hopefully a little bit better than my experience using the Pro BFG ones. But that's about it. So overall, it does make sense for it to be $10 more expensive than the original one. But because the original one is so discounted and there are so many used versions out there, it just makes sense for a lot of you in terms of price to performance to look at the original version. Pro BFG Reloaded being newer as well, I also want to make sure that all the kinks are worked out or any kind of long-standing issues that might have crept into this controller. So sometimes it's better to go for something that you know works, and of course that you can get at a reasonable price. You talked about this a few times, and now when it comes to many of the biggest games that we've all been playing, all of them need to use the triggers. How is a controller like this, where the triggers are not good, viable as a product for any type of gaming? Yeah, like the triggers are very, very disappointing for me, especially when it comes to their accuracy. This is not something that I would be using in an F1 game. For shooting games or FPS, stuff like that, like sure, I can kind of get used to it over time. I'm not a big fan of this being so sensitive. And I did play around with the dead zones a little bit afterwards as well on the software. And it does kind of help reduce or minimize some of that early actuation for the left trigger. But like I mentioned, like the bottom part of it, it still doesn't feel good. Like it just feels like there's such a huge gap. Or I'm going from a distance, like let's say that is this small in an area which is this big. And in this small of a space, I'm basically going from a 0 to 100, right? And this huge space is available. So I don't know if it's immersion or if it's just the feeling of it. Maybe because I'm so used to the other triggers in other controllers that are a little bit more accurate, it just feels off. And with anything, sometimes it's more of an adjustment. So who knows that, you know, maybe I do get adjusted to this over time and this becomes my go-to for any kind of competitive gameplay. But from my first experience using it, it was just not good. I would almost view it as if this controller was put out in front of me at a Best Buy or a Walmart and I was able to kind of test it at that time and play a game with it. If I tested out the triggers and saw what it did, I would probably not pick this up. Now we all saw and heard when you start testing out the Fight Stick pad on this controller, you seem to really like it. Is this something that can replace a fighting stick? If you have a dedicated fighting stick that you use, this won't replace it. At the end of the day, the space is pretty small. You are using your thumbs for all of it because, I mean, you could play kind of like this, but again, that's such a small space to kind of move everything. And I feel that for most fighting game pros, you kind of want that full space, you know, when you put it on your lap or in front of you and have your hands out there, it kind of gives you a little bit more control. So it's not something that I foresee as kind of taking over that space, but from a casual perspective, if you're someone that's a big fighting game fan and don't have a lot of space to kind of keep a fighting stick, or maybe you just don't like using a fighting stick, right? Some people just prefer having a controller. This is a very, very good option. And this could lead you to kind of get into the fighting space more and then maybe go on to using a fighting stick in the near future. I have a lever Hori stick and also a hot leverless fighting stick. Both of them are in my closet. And even though I love Street Fighter 6, as you can see with the space behind me on my desk, I just can't keep stacking it on places because it does take up a lot of space. So this is perfect for days that I don't feel like going online, or maybe I do feel like going online but just playing casual matches. I could just bring this out, put the little fighting stick module and just play with this. Now this controller is priced at $200. How does this compare to something like the DualSense Edge or the Xbox Elite? Why would I pay $200 for this? Now yes, officially this is $200 like I mentioned, but most of the time you do find it for $170, and you also get a lot of used options for way less, around $100. I'll cut right to the chase. For $200, especially with my experience right now, I don't think this is worth it. This is not worth $200. $170, I could see it being a little bit more worthwhile, especially if you are someone that likes playing fighting games, having that module, being able to kind of customize it to your liking. But if you're someone that is playing more immersive games, things like that, I don't really know why you would want to get this. This would be more if you like the customizability. If you're someone that solely plays single player games, $170 for this it's a little too much. If you get it for even less than that, or if you find used versions for like $100, maybe a little bit more, then yes, look, this is something that I feel could be a little bit more worthwhile, or price wise a little bit more acceptable. And look, talking about acceptable, Hank, it is not acceptable that you keep insulting me every time you come every week. I mean, have you ever looked at your tie? It looks like a 5-year-old did that. What about your shirt? You didn't even press it. Look at all the wrinkles. I mean, I work from home, so it's a work from home getup. And look, I gotta say this, but you Tom Selleck wannabe, your mustache looks like shit. How dare! And we'll cut right there. It's good that I'm the editor. So overall, the Pro BFG is a very interesting controller. It has a lot of features, a lot of things going for it that do make it quite enticing. If I were to look at this controller as a $200 controller, I would not say go out and buy it. $200 for the flimsy triggers, the mushy face buttons, and the really clunky software is just a little too much. And the main reason being that there's so many other controllers out there from different brands that are way less and give you similar kind of features in terms of the additional buttons, the various levels of the triggers while feeling a lot better, and the face buttons also feeling much better than what we have here. If you are able to get it at that reduced price of $170, if not less, yeah, like I can see this being more of a viable option depending on what types of games you play. If you're someone that doesn't really touch fighting games, this is not worth it. Fully, like completely being honest with you, like you shouldn't even look at this because this has that fighting game community in mind. Sure, you can switch stuff around and everything like that, but like I said, like there are so many other controllers out there that do the same thing or do something similar. You might not be able to remove the modules and stuff around, but you will get a really cool D-pad or face buttons or analog sticks that are TMR. Plus the back buttons are not exactly the nicest, you know, they are pretty hard to press. It doesn't seem something that's gonna be seamless in a competitive game. If you get one used for a much cheaper price, yeah, this could be worth it. For $100, it is cool enough. It has enough features to make it something that I could use in particular situations, but also not feel bad that I spent $100 on it. For the time being, the Ultimate 2C is still a mainstay on my PC here, and the Ultimate 2 on my PC outside, because this controller still fulfills my main needs, which is a good feeling controller, good feeling face buttons, a good D-pad, and an accurate set of triggers. The extra buttons and all are cool, but I myself don't use it as much. And even then, the Ultimate 2C has 2 additional ones at the top, and the Ultimate 2 has back buttons for you to be able to customize. I know this isn't an 8BitDo video, but when I review some of these controllers, especially ones that are $200 if not more, it really highlights what 8BitDo, like the magic they're able to do with the money that they're asking from us. And I will be reviewing the Pro BFG Reloaded, and I'll let you know whether or not this is a big step up from this and whether or not spending $210 on this controller is going to be worthwhile. So thank you everyone for joining. It really means a lot. Every one of you that shows up every week, comments, likes, dislikes, whatever it is, it really means a lot to me. It does keep me going, and I have so many new products to review in the next few months. So I'm really excited to know what you all think. I hope whatever all of you are trying to do in your life, you're able to achieve it, and that all of you have a wonderful year ahead. Thank you. Bye.